Hey, this is Larry Kirby, and I am so freaking pumped of what we're bringing and sharing with you today. Now, I've got Heather Wallace here. She is a certified pediatric sleep consultant. Now I don't want to brag, but being a professional speaker, I've put a lot of people to sleep, and so across the United States. But she actually does it a lot better than I do, and in particularly works with babies. Heather, tell us about you.
Mhm. Well, I am from Waco, Texas, and I have 3 boys, super active,
How old are your
boys,
boys?
8, 7, and 4.5. And so they know how to go, and luckily they know how to sleep as well. But I started out, just a really tired mom as well with my oldest. Not being able to get him to sleep, rocking him while he's screaming,
Now,
and
can any parent relate to this, by the way? Like, is she in her
oh
own
yeah.
world? Or now, I tell you, I've got several family members where my heart just went out to them, watching them with these beautiful babies that in the 9 months they never got good sleep. And then once that baby came, is they just couldn't get the baby to sleep. And
Yeah.
isn't sleep deprivation like a form of torture?
It
Does,
is,
okay.
absolutely, it is, and that's why it's so life-changing when your little one starts to sleep. But yeah, I decided I was gonna sleep train my, baby, and didn't know what I was doing, but I knew it worked. Like 3 days later, I had a completely new baby, so I was hooked after that, baby after baby, 3 of them.
So
Taught
you
me healthy
getting
sleep
in,
habits.
you getting into this industry was influenced by your personal experience.
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely. I started leading a large Facebook group devoted to building healthy sleep habits in babies. And so that's kind of when I started. I learned a lot myself, and I walked a lot of parents through it for free, and had been doing that for about 5 years before I was able to officially become certified and join the Sleepwise team. So now I'm love being able to reach even more families, and in even more desperate situations, even that yeah.
Wow. Wait, and let me throw something out here. If this is not your situation, those are friends of ours that are watching this. If this is not your personal experience, or let's say your kids are older now, who do you know that is getting zero sleep right now? Who do you know that would benefit from a message of hope to where there is something that can be done? Who do you know that would benefit from our services? Okay. So tell me more about the science behind what the heck is going on with
Yeah.
these beautiful bundles of joy that we had a preconceived idea of what it would be like once they come into this world.
Yes,
And
sleep's in the baby
surprise.
making, and yeah. So when they're newborns, they have 2 phases of sleep. They got, the REM sleep and the deep sleep, and it's real easy to get into a deep sleep. So
Wait, say that
usually
again.
the REM sleep
Okay.
and the deep, and then they got their deep sleep. And it's really easy to get into that deep sleep where they sleep for long periods of time, as a newborn. And then they kind of wake up a little bit, obviously.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where the sleep deprivation starts when they, get out of their sleepy phase. And then around 12 weeks old, we start to see sleep props becoming really detrimental to sleep.
Hmm.
So you'll get a baby sleeping pretty well, a newborn, around 12 weeks old. All of a sudden, you're rocking the baby to sleep. You put the baby down, and that's not working anymore. Now he's screaming, or it's taking longer and longer to rock him. And it's funny because when I talk with parents, it's always, oh yeah, he was sleeping great until 12 weeks. And I'm like, oh, yep, that makes a lot of sense. 12 weeks, and then sleep gets worse at 4 months. Um, their sleep completely changes to 4 stages of sleep. If they can't get through that first stage of sleep on their own, they're not going to make it the rest of the time. So those are the two ages that I find parents reach out to me because all of a sudden they had a good sleeper and now they're not. And then it just kind of goes downhill from there. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say these, these parents that are reaching out, how did they find you? How does that even work? This is so new to
Mhm.
me in regards to all these processes. And I I know a tiny, 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 minuscule amount, enough to get into trouble and mess things up. But I mean, how do they find you? Are they searching for you, or what
Yeah.
is?
Some, yes, some late, late, late at night when they're not sleeping, they'll Google and they
You're
find the
right.
sleep consultant that way.
I never thought
Uh,
about that. Your website's getting hit at 2 a.m., 4
yes,
a.m.,
we have
6
a
a.m.
match me to a consultant quiz, and I get many matches in the middle of the night. So, or like early, early morning. So some their friend uses a consultant and it's life changing, and they're like, I have to do that too.
Hmm.
Others they just meet, they find me on Facebook. I'm everywhere on Facebook. I'm in lots of groups, helping parents out, doing Q&As, building relationships, and so that's usually some the ways that they find me.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Because I know there's going to be some parents here that are saying, man, where were you a year ago? Where were you
Mhm.
2 years ago during that time? But again, who could you be a blessing to? Again, I'm speaking to those that are, our friends that are watching. Who could you be a blessing to in their life by making that connection?
Mhm.
We often, I know I'm notorious for this when someone, has a baby or something, like, let us know what we can do. And it's such a hollow request on my end. Even when I have friends that are struggling, let me know what to do. Like, they're not gonna call me. They're not, my friend's not gonna call me, or my friend's wife's not gonna call my wife at 2 a.m. saying, hey, I can't get my kid to sleep. And so, when we are proactive in helping these other young parents out that are struggling, that are sleep deprived, man, what a blessing any one of our friends right now watching could be in their lives, by giving them that hope that this exists,
Yeah.
that this is even going on.
Yes, exactly. We actually have a newborn plan where we just start off healthy sleep habits from the beginning. So you don't ever actually have to do that big, giant, sleep training moment later on.
Yeah.
So great, great baby gift right there. So,
Huge, huge. Oh, you know what, dude? I never thought about that. Forget getting all the onesies together for the baby shower.
mhm.
Everyone chip in, and I say that kind of joking around, but I really actually mean it, as far as people getting together and families and groups contributing to making this kind of thing happen. So tell me more about the process.
Mhm. What we do with our plans is we start off with a phone call or a Zoom call. I'm loving, actually, we never even thought about doing Zoom until COVID. Um, so now
The
we're
world
starting
of
to venture
Zoom.
out. hmm So we talk about, what this baby sleep is doing, what the needs are, what the goals are, and then I teach you everything you need to know about sleep. You know, what the routine needs to be during the day, what the bedtime routine is going to be, what to do when you lay him down, and of course he's going to cry or protest. So what to do in the middle of the night. So every little thing I lay out for you, answer your questions.
Can I jump in there really quick?
Yeah.
Is as far as you saying that the child's going to protest, and what a comfort it is having that conversation to where the parent knows, okay, what I'm doing, how the child's responding exactly is how they're supposed to respond.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's so much comfort in that, knowing, okay, this is exactly how it's supposed to play out. This is
hmm
versus, oh, this is what's going on. Am I doing it wrong? Don't you love education? Like, I freaking love education. And not
Yeah.
only do I love education, I love that people like you study a subject, because here's the thing. I could sit as a new parent, I could sit and read every book and watch every documentary and everything. But by the way, if I have a kid that's in this situation, I'm not reading any book. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not going to learn. And if I do, by the time I use it, the kid's probably 2 or 3. And
Mhm.
so people that specialize in specific to where you have years and years and years of not only education, but practical application is huge, and not to take away, but man, if I have an electrical problem, I, I could learn everything I need about electricity, but I'm not going to.
Mhm,
Okay. I'm going to call someone and say, hey, my switch won't turn on the electricity.
mhm,
I could learn it, but why? If I have again, I
mhm,
don't want to use plumbing because we're talking about babies. They're so cute. And there's, if I could learn what I need about plumbing, but why when I have
mhm,
someone else that has the experience in the
mhm.
learning? Sorry, I went on a tangent. I'm excited
No,
about
you
this
know what?
subject. Keep
But
going, keep going.
actually, there's so much education that I provide to them,
Hmm.
that they're able because sleep changes so much. So we work together for 2 weeks, but you're gonna have some issues down the road. You're gonna have schedule changes you're gonna need to make. So
Hmm.
the great thing is there's so much education that happens during our 2 weeks together, and that really is my goal as well because I need you to be able to do this. Troubleshoot, fix the
Uh,
schedule when things go wrong, going forward on your own. So there is a lot of education to where they are now. They don't believe it, but they're the experts by the end
wow.
of
Well, and the
our
experts
subject matter.
for their specific kid
Yes,
or their
yes,
situation.
exactly.
That's another thing I want to point out. When we invest in others people's help in education, not only are you teaching the principles, but you're teaching specific things for little Johnny.
Mhm,
You're teaching specific things for that particular child. And as a parent, if there's ever any, and I know you have a lot of different methods and in doing it, but as a parent, if I don't feel comfortable with one of the methods, now what?
mhm. Good question. You're asking me now what if
Well,
a
well,
parent
no, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get to is, in our conversation, is that there's not just one method.
Oh, yes,
There's
yes.
not just one method. And so if there's one method that I don't feel comfortable with, great, put it
Mhm.
aside. Here's other
Right.
ones that we can experiment and practice on.
Exactly, yep, and that's exactly what we do. So I have to make sure it's not gonna work if the parents aren't comfortable with it. I mean, there's gonna be a level of discomfort, but,
Mhm.
they have to feel okay with what they're doing, in order to, be consistent with it, and so when they're not, we just don't get those results. So,
Mhm.
making sure on that 90-minute call, how do you think you're going to react whenever, your baby cries, when you lay him down? What are
Okay,
you going to do?
this is brilliant. Okay, keep your train of thought exactly where you were, but I'm sorry, I love coming in. So when you interact with them, you do the thought work ahead of time to where,
Important.
hey, how do you think you're going to react in that situation? So they've already worked that through with you
Mhm.
ahead of time.
Yes, exactly. That's so important because otherwise we do get parents who haven't we had just one with another consultant recently. The parents did not realize the baby was going to cry. He just thought, well, I'm going to be right there with the baby. And so surely my comforting is going to help. And it was a disaster. I think they're going to get back on the horse, luckily, and try it again. But it's so important to really that expectation that what's going to happen. And it's funny, we see it time and time again. So I can almost tell you exactly what your baby's going to do and for how long. And after your baby falls asleep, he's probably going to wake up at this time and this time and this time. But um, let's be prepared. Let's do the work now and think about what are you going to do to help with your mental state. What are the calming techniques that you're going to use on yourself? Because it's
Wow.
just a it's a it's emotional for the parent.
Okay. This is so much. Like dude, this is freaking unreal. Like this is freaking unreal. And I mentioned before in our communication and how I've had family members that have experienced sleep deprivation. Okay, now I'm a man, okay, in case anyone didn't realize that. All right. Now, but when women have a baby, it, it is, I mean, it is rocking their world. They're going through postpartum. It is so hard. I mean, I've been with my wife for 3 kids, several miscarriages. I can't even begin to understand what her body and what
Mhm,
is going on in her world. Like, I'm there as an outsider. Okay.
mhm.
But what I see, and just even thinking about it right now makes me want to cry. And I know that sounds so cheesy. And I know that is, but it is to see everything that she went through, just having the baby alone.
Mhm.
And then if we were to, our babies were big babies. I think our last one was 10-3.
Oh my
The one
god.
before was 10-2.
Wow.
I don't know where they get their size from. Just kidding. Everyone all our friends that are watching, they're like, it's you, Larry, it's you. My
Yeah.
wife, my wife is tiny. But to add to the emotion of everything of just having a baby, and especially if it's your first one,
Yeah.
if it's your first baby where you thought it was going to be a certain way, and everyone, when you have a baby, everyone's just excited. Oh, you're having a baby. Like, no one tells you, hey, you're not going to sleep for the next 18 years. Like, no one,
You
no one
think
tells you the
you think
other
you can
things.
handle that, but
The what?
you think you can handle that. Usually I get, around the 3-month mark when they're like, I knew the baby was gonna wake up. I knew I wasn't gonna get any sleep, but they don't know exactly how that feels. And when you actually know how it feels to not get any sleep, all of a sudden by 3 months of no sleep, it's like, I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
And that's only 3 months. And then I have parents doing it, so much longer. And it's like you don't have to. It doesn't have to be that way.
Wait,
Um,
whoa, whoa. Say that again. Say that
it
again.
doesn't. No, it does not have to be that way. It is not. It's not a badge that you even need to wear on your arm as a parent. The sleepless nights, the baby waking up and feeding the baby multiple times a night. It doesn't have to be that way. Your baby can you can do something different, and it can be respectful. It can be gentle. It's going to change your world.
If I almost want to title this interview of "It doesn't have to be that way."
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that way, and I can't say that enough. As far as the hope that brings to
Yeah.
these sweet moms that have gone through so much, you don't have to live that way. You
Right.
don't have to live that way, and I imagine a lot of them is because they just don't understand and they don't know people like you exist.
Right.
Um, but it doesn't have to be that way. Wow. Sorry, keep going, keep going.
Right. Let's see, where was I though? um, oh, the 90-minute call. Yeah, so we do a
90
lot
minute
of
call.
work.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
We do a lot of work there. And then we start the process and um, with this, it's mainly the support. Like you could read a book, like you had mentioned before, you could read all
Mhm.
about it, but that support of like telling you exactly what to do when you're in the moment, via text, making sure that you are staying strong, reminding you of what to do. It's often cases the only way a parent can kind of get through that first night, only because it's just a shock. It's just not, um, they work it up in their heads as well. And so it's just, they just kind of need someone, to guide them through it. Once we get past the first night, things are dramatically better. You are amazed at
Wait, whoa, whoa. The first night?
that's all you got to get through. Yeah. It's I see the bedtime is the hardest. Once we get through that, we see the nights changing on its own. Where we have a baby waking up 10 times a night, or nursing all night long, to all of a sudden 1 or 2 times, and then they put themselves back to sleep after being fed. So it's amazing just the first night. Naps are hard the next day. Naps can be hard the next couple of days, but you'll see that progress of your baby self-settling, using his own self-soothing mechanisms to fall asleep. And you're like, okay, now I can do this because I see it. I see the fruit now. I can do this. And we go through the process, talk on the phone, email, we text, making sure we're always meeting our goal of, the baby putting himself to sleep. And appropriate naps during the day.
Now, when you say but the baby putting themselves to sleep, so you're not talking about as parents rocking the babies to
Mhm.
sleep.
Right.
Is
So
that
that sleep props, that's what a sleep prop is. Anything external that the baby needs to fall asleep and to stay asleep. So whatever he needs at the beginning of sleep. If you have to rock your baby, that's what he's going to need when he needs to transition sleep cycles. If you need to feed your baby to sleep, that's what he's going to need. If he needs a pacifier, you might put your baby in the crib awake with a pacifier, and he sucks and falls asleep just fine, but 3 hours later, when he's transitioning cycles at a kind of a crucial time,
wow?
he's going to revert right back to that. He's going to look for it. He can't find it. He starts screaming, and often case the pacifier isn't even going to help at that point. You have to kind of do the next level of prop to get the baby back to sleep. So, and it's that cycle every 3 hours. Naps, waking up at 45 minutes, chronic 45-minute short nappers. It's all because they didn't fall asleep independently, so they just can't connect cycles independently.
Okay, this is
Was that too much?
no,
Get it?
this is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like I didn't I mean, I just in my mind, I'm just thinking of rocking my baby to sleep, rocking my baby to sleep, rocking
And
my
it's
baby to
sweet.
sleep. It is,
Sweet
and
moment.
it is sweet, and obviously they didn't tell me how much they loved it, but I could hear it in their soul of, Dad, you're the best, you're amazing,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
incredible. Um, but I've never made that connection before as far as it being a sleep prompt, and if they get if and correct me if I'm wrong, if I say anything where you're just like, that's not so if they're relying on a sleep prop, they have a harder transition into the next cycle.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, that's really kind of a mind blow. And you know what? Maybe everyone watching this knows and understands this, and I'm sitting here as the most ignorant person on the face of the planet, but I don't think that's the case. Okay, I
Mhm.
may be ignorant, but I don't think most parents know this.
Mhm. Well,
I could
I
be
mean, they
wrong.
think it's true. It's so hard. The baby can't tell you what it needs. It only cries, but it cries for so many different reasons.
Hmm.
Parents often think that their baby is hungry. They're 20-pound 4 month old. Now we're not going to pull these night feedings at 4 months old. It just happens on its own. But okay, well, let's say maybe a 12-month old. We have a 25-pound 12-month old who's in the 99 percentile. He's getting what he needs. He's getting what he needs during the day. He can get what he needs. He's not hungry at night. In fact, big babies sleep better. So
Hmm.
it's not that big babies need more food at night. It's big babies actually sleep through the night a lot faster with these independent sleep skills. So that's
Wow.
and they're so you're so nervous if you take that feeding away, is my baby going to be hungry? But any doctor will also advise you at a much younger age that you would think that this baby is not hungry. You're okay to do some sleep training.
Wow, I love that. Just a side note, I know it's off subject, but my daughter who came out 10-4, 10-3, 10-4. So I think it was 10-3. I don't remember. I was
Yeah,
there, but
yeah, yeah.
um a couple a year ago, and she's a very healthy little girl, and I remember she had some stomach things going on, and so my wife and I were like, we don't know a lot about it, so we're like, I wonder if she has celiac disease, so we
Mhm.
take her into the doctor, and I said, hey, what could she have celiac disease? And he like looked at her, and she's a healthy girl. He's like, kids with celiac disease don't look that healthy. Kids with
Yeah.
celiac disease don't look that way. At least that's what the doctor told me. Sorry, that was just a
Yeah.
side note.
Nope. Yep. Yep.
Prompt.
That makes sense. Um, so obviously your child's not starving during the day. He's pretty chunky. He's got it. And I do want to clarify that sleep training is more about falling asleep independently, going back to sleep independently rather than um, removing night feedings. We remove night feedings when it's the parent's choice and when it's okay developmentally, but oftentimes a parent has a goal of like, oh, I'm totally fine. I'll feed my baby once or twice at night. Totally fine. The baby does it on its own. Baby weans on its own because he does,
Hmm.
it's kind of saying on its own, he doesn't need it. So, and so, we really think about what the parents' goals are and not just, it's you don't have to be, someone doesn't have to be worried or confused that, we would be depriving a 3-month-old of night feedings or 4-month-old. So,
Wow.
but excuse me, but at the beginning of sleep, you don't have to rock them. You can plop them in the crib and they go to sleep. And now they're sleeping long stretches to where when they're hungry, when they're actually hungry, they wake up and they go back to sleep whenever they're fed. So it really, you can really start to understand what the actual needs are once they really have those skills.
Wow. Okay. Now, just talking to you is a couple of things that I'm thinking about is it's the parents that call you to where they're not getting any sleep. Okay. But isn't this really for everyone? I mean, really isn't sleep training for anyone that has a kid, just as far as healthy behavioral habits, understanding healthy sleep habits. So whether you aren't getting any sleep at all, or you are getting sleep, doesn't it make sense that parents generally have a better understanding of how the whole sleep training works?
Hmm.
Do you have a lot of parents that come to you with preventative and just wanting to understand, or do
Hmm.
they call you when it's past that
Yeah.
moment of despair?
I usually, that's what kind of what our newborn plan is for.
Hmm.
So we prevent a whole lot of stuff by working with parents from the very beginning for 12 weeks. And so by 12 weeks, their baby's putting himself to sleep, no crying, just rolling over, not rolling over, but closing their eyes, drifting off to sleep peacefully. Just slowly building sleep habits. There's no like one time major sleep training event. And so that's kind of what that newborn plan is for. And I think parents, you made a good point, because there's a lot of parents whose babies naturally sleep well, and they can actually rock their baby to sleep, and the baby sleeps all night long, and they are perfectly fine with their sleep situation.
Mhm.
And so, you know, it's just more difficult for them to see that. My preference is that every baby learns the skill of self-soothing. It works really well once they're toddlers. First off, most of the time you'll have some disruptions. You can avoid a lot of disruptions, like kind of off and on disruptions in sleep. But even though naturally they're pretty darn good sleeper, if you just make the leap to you know follow these rules in one sense when it comes to sleep. But toddler, you will find a toddler who can self-soothe and during the day much easier, whenever they're sleep trained. So,
Wow. Okay. So, okay, this I can't thank you enough for this information, and I can't thank you enough for the hope that this brings our community, our parents, and again, the hope that it'll bring to someone that they know. Because I do think people are going to hear what you have to say, and when that situation comes up, they're going to get a group of friends together and say, "Hey, let's all chip in to
mhm.
invest for so and so who just had a baby." Um, Anything else before we close up that I need to know, but I didn't know enough to ask? Any other last things that I don't know that I don't know?
Hmm. That's a hard question.
And I know you could talk days and days and days
Yes,
about
I
this
can.
subject.
Yeah, I can. Just that, well, like I said before, waiting for sleep to come. It can come around, naturally around 2 or 3 years old, maybe
Hmm.
4, 5, 6, maybe. It's never too early. It's never too late to build those healthy sleep habits. We do work with toddlers and children and adults. I
Hmm.
don't work with adults, but it is the skill that is going to go with the baby, just like you were teaching them how to potty train, teaching how to sleep. It's not, people say it's a skill, people say it's developmental, you can't teach it, but what can we teach with toddlers with asking, using a calm voice to ask for a request, or
Hmm.
how are we teaching potty trainings? It's super developmental, but we still, we still provide that foundation for the baby, for the child. And so sleep is just the same way. It's
Wow.
both developmental and taught, and there's no time. You do it, you approach it in different ways, but whether it's a 3-month old or a 2-year old, it's never too early or too late.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And again, love everything that you said. Huge need for everything that you've said, especially now with everything that's going on. And so again, those that are listening, those that are watching, man, do what you need to do to help others that you know that are struggling really bad from the situation.
Mhm.
And even if you've just had a baby, man, find out what you don't know that will actually carry through to being a toddler, to being a 3-year-old, to being a 4-year-old, which is huge. And so
Mhm.
thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I will put your contact information below this so people can click on links and access that and contact you. Is that good?
Yeah, and I'll comment as well. So if anyone wants to just click on my name and send me a message, we can kind of talk it out, talk about what's going on with your baby or your child, and see if a sleep plan would be appropriate for you.
Oh wow, that's huge. That's huge. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the torture that you've taken out of so many parents' lives and doing what you're doing. But again, the
Mhm.
message of hope that you've given to so many parents in need of your services, who again, after having a baby, is already dealing with difficulty as it is.
Yeah.
And to take away that frustration of sleep is huge. So thank you for being here. And I'm going to say your title again, Heather Wallace, certified pediatric sleep consultant. Okay. Someone
Mhm.
who has worked with a ton of parents who can help you to understand what you need to go through this and what your child needs. So thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
one.